have to be real about what you can actually achieve. There's, at the end of the day, we are here to help these businesses grow through, providing a better guest experience. And if we're biting off more than we can chew in terms of offering things that, we in the back of our minds, we know that it's not going to be quite purpose fit for them. That's been a lesson that we've learned.
Welcome to the Attraction Pros podcast, where professionals in the attractions business can get tips, tools, and even a bit of inspiration.
Join us as we tackle some of the most important topics facing the attractions industry today and gain insights from some of the top leaders, creators, and influencers from the exciting world of theme parks, zoos, museums, aquariums, and family entertainment centers.
Because this show is created by Attraction Pros for Attraction Pros. I am Josh Liebman, Director of Business Development for Amusement Advantage. I help attractions understand and improve their guest experience.
And I'm Matt Heller, founder of Performance Optimist Consulting. I help leaders lead and work with attractions to increase employee engagement and retention.
Now sit upright, hold on tight, and enjoy the leading resource for attractions industry professionals, the Attraction Pros podcast.
Hey, Matt, how's it going?
It's going well, Josh. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing well. I'm just rolling.
Are you rolling with the homies?
I don't even know. We're so far into COVID, starting to come out, the quarantine's getting to me, but I'm rolling.
Yeah.
I'm very excited for our guest today.
The comedy quarantine, or the quarantine comedy is run its course. Yes, our guest today is Luke Finn, the CEO and founder of Roller. They work in the attractions industry, but they weren't named after a roller coaster.
No, they weren't, but it fits quite nicely. And the story of how it got its name is very simple and very interesting as well. So we'll let Luke share that. But Roller is one of the leading point of sale software solutions within the attractions industry. They focus very heavily in the FEC industry, particularly in trampoline parks, which is their largest market that they're in. They specialize in a lot of things, a lot of the complexities, I would say, that trampoline parks have. Interestingly, that theme parks or larger operations don't necessarily have at this time. Things like timed entry and staggered entry and the complexities that go along with that. So as a technology company, Luke knows a lot about the digital aspect of user experience, but very much how it translates to his passion for the guest experience and how those two are very much intertwined.
Yeah, I'm really interested. We talked to a lot of different people about user experience and guest experience and the experience economy and the employee we talk about that word experience a lot. But what I'm really interested to talk to him about is how his software and his technology really, in some ways disappears and then becomes kind of part of that experience and those little sort of micro adjustments that you can make to really enhance the experience where you might not even think about that before, like, in terms of, removing a couple of steps off of the ticket buying process and how that can really enhance, how many people stay with that app or they abandon ship and they go someplace else.
Right. Yeah. And it is really crucial that even small things like just a few extra clicks could cost substantial revenue if people have to click too many times to get to your checkout page, that they have, come up with, or they've developed fatigue on your website and no longer make the purchase, and then they no longer visit, and then you've, lost the revenue from that standpoint. So the importance of the user experience is seamlessly integrated to what you said, that it doesn't even feel like it's there, is a really important piece. So this is going to be a really interesting conversation with Luke to talk about guest experience, software, the whole integration of all of that, and how it all ties in very nicely together within the attractions industry.
So what do you say? Let's roll?
Let's roll on. Luke Finn, founder and CEO of Roller. Welcome to the Attraction Pros podcast. How you doing today?
I'm doing very well, thanks, guys. Got my morning coffee, so my brain is slowly kicking into gear, but doing well.
That's great. That's great. You've got your morning coffee over in Australia. Matt and I are just winding down our day here, so glad we were able to sync it up at a time frame that worked well for us. Where exactly are you located? Are you is it Sydney or Melbourne? I can't remember.
Yeah, so I had been based in Los Angeles for the last year. So I've been growing out the US branch. Before that, it was Melbourne in Australia. But yeah, at the end of March, we were about to open up another office in Nashville, actually. And that kind of happened right at the end of March, and we were about to lock in a space, and I was about to actually move there. But then along came, COVID-19, and threw those plans out the window. So I was kind of caught in between moving from LA to Nashville. So I'm now back in Sydney, actually. So about an hour north of Sydney, just in what they call the Central Coast, which is nice beaches, and it's a great place to be in isolation. So could be worse.
That's always good when you can say that. It's a great place to be in isolation. So,
yeah.
So let's talk about Roller. Tell us a little bit about, for those who might not be familiar with the company, what platform.
Yeah, so we're a technology company. So we build solutions for the attractions space. Our solutions include everything from point of sale, online ticketing, party reservations, waivers, gift cards, and a whole kind of range of different applications that support the operations of the attractions industry. So our clients range from theme parks, water parks, museums, zoos, trampoline parks is a big space that we've been focused on, and then all the way down to small operators like escape rooms and others. So it's a cloud-based solution. It is, very easy to use, set up. We spend a lot of time on improving the usability, so anyone can pick it up and get up and running pretty quickly. And yeah, that's the solution. And we have 3 offices around the world. So one in Melbourne in Australia, which is where we started the company, Los Angeles, and London as well. So yeah, we cover about 22 countries at the moment. So yeah, that's a high level overview.
Cool. And Luke, could you tell us a little bit about how Roller got started?
Yeah, sure. So, so the story is, we didn't head straight into the attraction industry. We started about 8 years ago, and the first version of Roller was actually a consumer app where people would download Roller as an application, any one of us, to find experiences around you that you could book online on your mobile. And our clients at that stage were more kind of high-end experience is in hospitality. So like high-end restaurants and nightclubs and bars where you could actually pre-purchase a package or an experience. And, when you arrive, you just walk straight to the front of the line and you get treated like a high roller, hence the name. That's where the original name came from. Wasn't roller coasters, but it kind of it's come through, kind of full circle to that. So we started there, and, it went well, but we were kind of caught in the middle of trying to build a consumer base as well as sign merchants, as in the businesses providing the solutions. So yeah, we got a lot of traction in Melbourne where we started, but yeah, we kind of found ourselves in a risky spot there because you had people like Groupon and others coming along that were much bigger than us. So we changed tack to be more of a B2B solution, providing those clients, hospitality clients, with ticketing systems for their events. And we did that for about another year. So this is probably 2 years into the journey. And then we had an inbound lead from a theme park or a water park near our office in Melbourne, saying that, hey, we've used your online checkout experience to buy tickets and events, and we really love the look and feel. It's really mobile optimized and looks great. Do you work with attractions? And at that stage there was only 3 of us in the company, and I was on the phone handling the conversation. I was like, no, we don't, but we'd love to come and chat with you about what you're after. So we went down and checked out the water park, and it was a very significant sized water park, and yeah, basically gave them the truth. We don't work with attractions. We're not kind of at that scale yet, but that it was very interesting because the solution that they were using was, you know, quite outdated, and kind of they felt like it was holding them back from achieving certain things from a guest experience point of view. And we really worked with them to expand our product to be able to work for them. So, you know, there was a lot of luck involved in getting that, you know, that inbound lead that then put us on a totally different trajectory of, you know, the attractions industry being, you know, the one that we kind of really went after. And the deeper that we looked into the space, you know, we really saw an opportunity here from a technology standpoint that, you know, the solutions in the space at the time hadn't seemed to have kind of gone down the path of making it super user friendly and all of that type of stuff, and making it more modern at the time. So we saw that as a huge opportunity to come in and bring something that was, you know, easy to use, powerful, simple for people to pick up, great for the user to buy their tickets easily and improve that guest experience. And yeah, we kind of never looked back. You know, we now no longer work with, you know, hospitality businesses at all, really. Obviously, some of the attractions have hospitality components to their business, but yeah, that was 6 years ago. And yeah, we fully went all in on the attraction space. And we really, you know, just started with our ticketing solution. That was kind of our first product in our suite. And then over time, you know, we built out the different applications that I mentioned before. Yeah, all in a kind of phased approach, point of sale, then into waivers and gift cards. And now we, you know, offer a full all-in-one solution that, you know, supports the full operations of these businesses now. So yeah, very happy that we did get put on that trajectory. It's a much, much better industry to be working in. And yeah, we're loving it. It's, for us, it's, you know, we get to work with a combination of technology and also the attractions industry, which is all about fun and experiences, and the combination of the two is pretty exciting. And yeah, we just love what we do. So we're very happy.
Sure. There's one thing I'm going to ask you to expand on that you said a couple of minutes ago about the water park that you were working with, that their current point of sale provider was holding them back from a guest experience point of view. What exactly, what were they being held back from doing that you were able to alleviate?
Yeah, so when we came into the space, we got the vibe that there was kind of a bit of a resentment between the operators and the POS providers. And it's, you know, from our perspective, the point of sale, which is kind of just one module of what people now offer, like Roller, we have a real responsibility in the guest experience, right? Like, we don't actually provide, obviously, the end experience or the product that people are purchasing, but the guest journey, you know, starts from the first time that people hear about, the first time that the guests hear about the brand, that continues on forever. The actual delivery of the service is only a portion of that guest experience, the guest journeys. Sorry. So the, you know, we saw that, you know, by improving all of the different touch points that, you know, the point of sale and the ticketing systems provide, by improving that would improve the end guest experience. So, and, you know, I guess in terms of holding back what I said before, there wasn't much product innovation happening. And that was pretty evident in the user interfaces that, you know, some other providers have, which to us kind of pointed out that they weren't investing a lot back into the product. And, you know, some comments from in the industry were like, you know, we want to get XYZ built and we want to launch all of these new products and things like that. But the pace at which the space was moving from a technology standpoint was slow. So for us, when we came in, it was, you know, our technology is built on, you know, all the newest stack and cloud-based and all of that type of stuff, which allows us to move very, very fast in terms of, you know, innovation and releases and all that type of stuff. And, you know, we took the viewpoint of really partnering with our clients, not just being a vendor that, you know, they pay and we provide the service, like to really align on what the end outcome is here, which is to improve the guest experience. And if we're both aligned on that, and we can both, you know, move at a decent pace, then ultimately that will, you know, improve the experience for the end guest.
So Luke, I'm curious, you know, just about the process, because you talked about being a partner with that particular brand and talk about the guest journey and all the touch points that you can impact. So, you know, can you kind of walk us through that process and what that kind of looks like from a development standpoint?
Yeah. So I guess all the touch points, I'll go through those first. Like, as a guest, when you first go to a theme park, water parks website, when you want to engage with that business, obviously the online ticketing component is basically the digital storefront. And if that experience is not great, if it's not mobile optimized, if it takes ages to buy a ticket, that's part of the guest experience. And that's, not a great kind of start to it. So while selling a ticket, many companies sell tickets. It's how you sell the ticket is the important thing. And, we focus a lot on reducing the friction in that buying process. So reducing the number of clicks, the number of pages. Even just recently, a couple of weeks ago, we just did a whole infrastructure change that improved the loading speed of the actual ticketing page. Because you see, like, if it takes 5 to 10 seconds for that page to load, then the drop-offs in conversions are significant. So just even speeding that up has a material impact on the conversions, but more so the actual guest experience, which is the most important part. So online ticketing through to the email communications that you receive once you buy your ticket, that's got to look great. It's got to have the QR code front and center. It's got to be mobile optimized, all the way through to the arrival process. Again, many businesses can check someone in, but the speed at which you're doing that and making it feel seamless and removing the friction is the key. So, and then also afterwards, when people leave, sending the communications up following, saying thanks for coming, rate the survey, that type of stuff. So there's a lot of touch points there that, businesses like Roller, and there's plenty of other great companies in the space as well, have a responsibility to contribute to that guest experience. So yeah, we're constantly focused on trying to improve that. It doesn't necessarily mean coming out with a whiz-bang new feature all the time, but it's just about constantly improving those touch points, because they do have material impacts on the guest experience. So,
definitely.
Right. Yeah. No, that's awesome. What does it mean when you say you're focusing on being an all-in-one management system? Because you mentioned POS is part of that. So what does it mean to be an all-in-one management system software?
Yeah. So I guess going back to the story of how we got here, we started with just the ticketing module, and as we were going out to market, we're essentially kind of hamstrung by just having that one application and then having to integrate with point of sales and all of these other systems. So for us, we made a decision, probably 5 years ago now, that we needed to actually build out that product suite, because otherwise we're always at the mercy of whoever the other systems were and their ability and willingness to integrate with us. So, we set out on a journey to build out that ecosystem of products. And although it is, it does require a lot of investment from a product perspective, like, building a point of sale system is, complex. It's hard. It takes a lot of time and the money. However, going down that path, I think, has really been a game changer for us. Once we completed the suite of core products that we needed, which were ticketing, point of sale, and CRM, it just opened us up to so many other opportunities. So when we come to a new prospect, it's here's Roller. You can take the whole thing. It's very easy to get up and running. You don't have to go, okay, well, I've got my ticketing system. I need to integrate it with my point of sale. There's a cost there to maintain that integration. There's risk in that integration. So yeah, we aim to provide a simple, easy, out-of-the-box solution that ticks all the things that they need to do. In saying that, though, we do have some clients that use us just for ticketing and use, let's say a Micros or a pretty comprehensive or a more comprehensive point of sale system that is tried and tested in large food and beverage outlets, for example. So there are times that we do kind of modularize our product to make sure that it fits well with the client. Like, we don't want to go selling in our point of sale system when we just know it's not going to handle what they need. And that is one of the lessons that, we've learned over time, which is, you have to be real about what you can actually achieve. There's, at the end of the day, we are here to help these businesses grow through, providing a better guest experience. And if we're biting off more than we can chew in terms of offering things that, we in the back of our minds, we know that it's not going to be quite purpose fit for them. that's been a lesson that we've learned over time. And, definitely the last couple of years in particular have been much better in that regard. Just being straight up and honest that this is where it is. Does it fit? Yes or no? Like we've got the same goal here of trying to improve the guest experience. We're not going to, pull any kind of wool over your eyes in terms of things that we don't do. So, and I think that's, so definitely something obviously that we'll continue to do and just continue to be straight up about everything.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And Luke, one of the things that, I kind of go back to when, as I hear you talk about the different touch points and things, is I'm like, what's left? You know what I mean? I mean, you talk about the journey from the beginning to the very end. So I'm curious, are there still untapped guest experience experiences that you haven't touched that Roller could have an impact on, like in a theme park or a water park?
Yeah, there is. I mean, for us, there's a never-ending amount of things that we could build, which is like, it's exciting, but it's also like, okay, you have to get really good at prioritizing what actually matters at the time. Like, and an example of this, where we didn't do that was about 3 years ago. We were kind of, growing really well at the time, and we just launched our point of sale, and it was kind of going really well for us. And then a few of us got together and were like, facial recognition is going to be the next big thing, right? And we're not a huge team, we weren't a huge team at that time, but we kind of set out on this journey to try and build our own full facial recognition system, which I truly believe at one day, that will come to at some point. But it's kind of like, is Roller best place to be building, a leading facial recognition system right now? At the time, I was like, yes, this is awesome. This is going to be the best thing ever. But so we kind of put that project on ice because it was just coming clear that, there was a lot of other technologies coming through, like Amazon, for example, have now published, their own facial recognition kind of open sourced technology that you can then put applications on top of. So we put that on ice for now to then let that flow through to then, at the right time, then, build that functionality in. But yeah, I mean, that's one example that I think, when those types of things do come to the industry, and I'm sure, a lot of other businesses like Roller are thinking about this and the timing of this, but that will have a material impact on the guest experience. Like it'll just be, ticket is attached to your face, credit card is attached to your face. It's a seamless experience. Like gates are opening, like, as you're walking straight through, there's no friction. You go up to the food and beverage counter, get your drinks and then just walk away, and it's all kind of charged back to your card. I mean, that's a huge, I could rattle off a million different bits of functionality that we would want to build. But yeah, it's very important to obviously make sure that you're absolutely nailing the core in terms of all those, must-have touch points before you go off and embark on a, kind of greenfields type project. But yeah, one of the things with the attractions industry is I just think there's so much room for innovation with technology. And I think, POS providers, when I say that, a lot of the businesses like Roller in the space, we don't just offer POS, but we're kind of labeled a POS system. Changing from just being a utility that the businesses use just to complete X, Y, Z to being something that actually helps advance the guest experience. And, because there's a million different point of sale systems out there that can sell an item. However, it's like that next step that needs to be more like predictive analytics, suggesting, what this person is about to buy, like dynamic pricing, all of this stuff that then aids the staff members to do a better job and to provide a better guest experience. I think that transition is really exciting to us. And I think we'll definitely see more of that in the space where traditional POS providers become, real influencers in the guest experience by building all of these additional kind of add-ons that, help them perform better and in the end, obviously improve that guest experience.
Mm.
So what I'm curious is, how do you prioritize the development of new features or new components or new modules? Because just going back to a few things that you said of, wanting to be the all-in-one solution, but also being real about what you can achieve. And then the example of what you just gave of facial recognition, that just makes perfect sense. Yes, I would love to just walk up to the snack bar grab my drink and meal and just leave and never actually have to do a transactional exchange. It just happens. So how do you know which direction you need to go, and then how do you know which direction would not be the best use of time right now?
Yeah, so I guess one of the key moments for us was when we hired our head of product, who basically came to the party and kept me in check from going off and coming up with these crazy ideas, thinking that we could just punch it out very quickly. So I think having someone that is realistic about the situation, I think I would say I kind of lacked that at points in the journey so far, but I mean, the way in which we prioritize now is there's part of it which comes from requests from existing clients and prospects. So we are, very open with our product roadmap. We actually have it published inside the platform. So our clients can see what's being worked on, vote things up, comment on things, and then also add ideas that flow back through the product. So I think one side is, making sure that we're listening to the clients, what they want and need. But then the other side is also, we're a technology company. We're not an operator. Like, we are a software company that, we see technology in the space that operators won't see, in their day to day. So we get obviously the feedback on what to build from the operators themselves. But then from us, like, we've got to also have our influence on what we think might really help businesses move forward, based on our understanding of software and where it's going and all that type of stuff. So it's kind of a balance between the two, but it's extremely important, obviously, to be listening as much as you can to clients and prospects and the industry itself, to make sure that what we're building is wanted, it will be taken up, and it will impact the guest experience. And one of the things that we've got better at over the last couple of years is actually putting things in place that actually measure the impact of the things that we build. So when we release, we release, every 2 weeks to our platforms. The way in which our platform is built, we've partnered with AWS, Amazon's web services, and it allows us to basically release things quite rapidly in a controlled environment. So traditionally with kind of more on-premise type systems, you get updates to the platform every 6 months. You download another version and that sort of thing. So with Roller, and with most modern technologies these days, you can release things quite rapidly. It's called like continuous deployment, which allows us to put things out there quite quickly, also in batches, but then also record and measure the impact that those types of things have on certain things. For example, just recently we changed the layout of the ticket page on the point of sale, and we tested it with some beta clients that opted into it, and we found that we cut down the number of clicks by like 80% by moving some things around, which they're not absolute game-changing things on the surface, but they really are in the heat of the moment when you have to click 80% or less of the buttons and getting that transaction through. So I think we're getting a lot better at tracking those kind of incremental improvements that we're making to the platform.
Yeah. So Luke, we've been talking a lot about the guest experience here, and I work with a lot of, on the other side of the fence, if you will, on the employee side, right? And I know you mentioned that, some of the things that you can do can help the staff create a better guest experience. Is there also room, or is there discussions of Roller helping on the employee side? Like, I think about all the different systems that are on the employee side as far as time and attendance and learning management and all that kind of stuff. And granted, there's a lot of systems in that space anyway, but is that also another area to expand what you're doing to, really have an all-in-one kind of system for a park?
That's a good question. So we do actually have a time clock. It's very basic, punch in, punch out type thing. But that came at the request of one of our clients. However, we are going to be focusing on things that have a direct impact to the guest experience. So the further away it is from that, the less likely we are of building it. So time and attendance and rostering and scheduling, we're not going to be pushing forward with any further developments on that, because there's great companies out there that do that amazingly well. Like they've got, amazing mobile apps that, like, if someone cancels their shift, it automatically routes to other people, and it's all just kind of, they've got that handled. And for us, I mean, it doesn't have a direct impact to the guest experience in our view. It's kind of a few parts removed. So therefore it's kind of not really in our sweet spot, or not something that we're going to be focusing on. So that's kind of how we weigh up, what we build and what we don't build. Anything that's really close to the guest experience, sits higher on the priority list for us.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense as far as what you were talking about with your priorities and the facial recognition. I was just curious because we see all those systems from the employee side, and I really like how you're talking about how everything, when it works right, is all seamless, right? From the very first touch point to the last. And I guess maybe I'm just talking about it selfishly because I see how unseamless it can be from the employee side too. So I was just curious about that. So, but I appreciate, you staying with what your core is.
Yeah, totally. And again, I think it's just, a maturity thing for us. Like, we know what we want to try and achieve. Like, our goal is to help create fun experiences. Like, we have a responsibility and a role to play there. Rostering and scheduling is kind of a little bit out of the wheelhouse. So, and couple that with the fact that other businesses do it really, really well. And there's no point in us spending our, valuable development resources on something that doesn't have a direct impact on that guest experience. So.
Yeah.
Sure. One of the things I'm curious about too is the amount of growth that you've achieved over the last several years. And I was reading an article recently where you mentioned, it was either you or your brother, I'm not sure, it just said Finn, but it was substantially through inbound demand without actively marketing as a company. Can you talk a little bit about that and how that was achieved?
Yeah. So over the years, we haven't committed much at all in terms of sales and marketing as a kind of relative proportion to our whole company. Our largest team in our company is our development team, our product team. So we really lead through, our growth is led through our product and referrals, word of mouth from our existing clients. And that really has driven, the majority of our growth. Really, like, obviously we go to IAPA, we've been there for the last 5 years in a row now. But the majority of our new client base comes through referrals of existing clients, which I think is a great way to do it, because it's, people that are using the system saying, that they're enjoying it and telling other people to use it versus, just sales trying to convince people to move over to us. So I think, you could probably, there's obviously many businesses that have done it differently and succeeded by going more of a sales-led approach rather than a product-led approach. But for us, we offer a product and a service off the back of the product, and we will continue to be doubling down on the product, and we'll, always aim to make sure that our product team is the largest part of our business, because ultimately that will drive the growth through happy customers that then, have word of mouth referrals. So that's basically how it's come through.
And then part of it too, I can imagine some of it would be attributed to the markets that you're in. You mentioned that the trampoline park is one of the biggest verticals that you work in, and we've just seen massive growth from that sector. Has that been a channel of focus from that standpoint too, as far as determining which avenues or which verticals to go after?
Yeah, it definitely has over the last 18 months in particular. The setup of a trampoline park from a technology provider's perspective is quite complex. Like, the way in which they manage capacity is a lot more complex than just a theme park. Theme park's more about the volume. It's usually selling day passes where you can come in on, any time during the day. And sometimes you can just pick the day, you just buy the day pass and come in whenever you want. Whereas trampoline parks are, constricted to hourly or, half an hour increments of time, with capacity controls off the back of that. And even in some cases where there's different zones within the trampoline park itself that have different capacity restrictions where one ticket might be able to get you into the jump area for an hour, but then you can also go into the party room for an hour and a half, so the half an hour afterwards with that one single ticket. So there's a lot of like logic behind the scenes that is very complex. So we have been focusing on the trampoline park space over the last 18 months or so, and it's we love it. Like it's you know, it's really kind of mentally stimulating trying to solve the problems of that type of business. But I think, you know, the flow on effects of that are that we are, you know, advancing the product that will have flow on effects to all the other industries all the other kind of verticals that we support as well. So even, you know, an example now is, you know, with businesses starting to reopen after COVID-19 shutdowns, a lot of them are now looking for time ticketing solutions. Because obviously the regulations around how many you know, guests you can have in the venue at any one time are going to be much more strict. And you know, we've been operating in that trampoline park space for a long time now with tried and tested time ticketing solutions that are, you know, very comprehensive. So we're starting to see that being adopted in a lot of different kind of verticals as well. But yeah, so we've been focusing on trampoline parks, but you know, it improves the system. It's not like we have a trampoline park specific version of Roller. It's built into the overall kind of code base, which has, you know, benefits to other verticals.
Yeah, you know, Luke, you mentioned COVID-19, and you know, we can't not talk about that, you know, given the time that we're in right now, and we don't want to make the entire episode about that, but certainly we want to talk a little bit about how you guys have pivoted a little bit to kind of help the industry and help people kind of get through this. So can you talk a little bit about what Roller has done to kind of help the industry get through this?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, for us, this is obviously a shock to everyone. Like for us, you know, we were operating business as usual, happy days, and then pretty much all of our clients shut in a matter of like a week. It was crazy. I remember, you know, jumping on our board calls going, oh, it might not be that bad. And then the next day it's like, okay, there's some weird signs. And then a week later, it's like all the venues are shut down. It's like, you know, have to change tack. I think for us, obviously it's difficult for everyone. You just got to do what you got to do to manage the situation as best you can. But for us, you know, the mental model that we've kind of, you know, been thinking about throughout this whole process is there's three key parts that any leader in this type of situation has to manage. One is the company itself, making sure that the company is fine. Second is the team, and not in any order, team, and then customer. And so how we think about it is, imagine like a three-pronged seesaw where all of them are kind of level, trying to balance the all three of those things is difficult, but it's something that you kind of need to do first and get things in the right spot before you then go and pivot and try and do something different. So immediately for us, we did, you know, a lot of things that helped our client base. You know, the team, make sure that they were secure, and, you know, we haven't done any layoffs or anything like that, which we're proud of, but just making sure that they're secure and fine. And then for the company, obviously making sure that, you know, that is secure and has, you know, the runway and all of that type of stuff to weather the storm. And, you know, that was our focus immediately, which, you know, we're really, looking back on it, you know, we're really happy with what we've done there, and it's put us in a good space. But then in terms of pivoting, you know, I wouldn't say we've pivoted. We were quite creative in the way that we were thinking about how we could apply our existing platform, which is capacity management, as I said before, like trampoline parks, managing capacity, that could be used for other businesses in society that have not had to typically manage capacity in this way. So, you know, think supermarkets, post offices, those essential businesses that needed to provide a service, but were kind of inundated with people flocking to the shops, and then, you know, having no real control over that. So we did do a bit of a marketing campaign there around that, basically, you know, opening our system up, because it is quite easy to get set up and get going to help businesses in that space. So we had a lot of inbound interest for that, which was really interesting. But at the same time, we haven't shifted our focus at all away from attractions. That was more just like a quick solution that was like, hey, if we can help in any way here with our existing technology, like we're all in, whatever we can do to help the wider community. But yeah, at the same time, we haven't kind of gone off track trying to build custom things for for supermarkets and things like that, because that was and I hope it is a short-term problem. But for us, we've progressed a lot of things over the last couple of months, for the benefit of our clients and future clients in this downtime. So yeah, it's been very busy. Yeah, it's just super busy at the moment. There's a lot of things that we've been working through, and yeah, we're really happy with the progress that we've been making, and we'll definitely be coming out of the other side of this in a better position.
That's great. One of the things I saw on your website when on your COVID-19 page, it talks about all the things you can do, and you just mentioned the timed entry and that kind of thing, but it also talks about preventing panic buying, and of course, there's a roll of toilet paper. Yeah. So I'm curious. I'm curious how the system prevents panic buying.
So by limiting the number of people in there, like people, our view is that people are panicking because there's heaps of people in there. Everyone's scrambling, sometimes fighting. You've all seen the clips.
Yeah.
Of people, trying to rip toilet paper off other people. With less people in the actual venue, it's a much more controlled environment for the visitors, which we would think would flow on to people being a bit more rational and just getting what they need type thing, controlling the situation more, which should lead to people just being a bit calmer about the situation. But yeah, that was the thinking behind that.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
it's important. So
it is. Toilet paper is important, apparently.
That'll be enough to go around. So, so we're also talking about the additional, the increased demand for time ticketing within our industry, within the attractions industry, that hasn't typically wanted to go down that avenue. And, you mentioned there, it's not like there's a specific trampoline park only module, but is there, further adaptation that's needed if a large scale theme park wanted to implement time ticketing, which trampoline parks have been doing for years, into the theme park model? Is it a seamless, just kind of transfer over from a modular standpoint?
Yeah, it's seamless. I mean, it's already available to all our clients. It's just a different kind of setup of the tickets in the system. So, in our system, we spend a lot of time making the platform as self-serve as possible from an operator's perspective. So, allowing them to build their own products and all of that stuff. It's just a matter of a few clicks to create it and then publish it. We have another kind of product set up in our platform, which is like session ticketing. So they set up their schedules, the times, the capacity of each time, and then deploying it. So we've helped quite a few businesses turn that on, but it is already available, so it's no major change, and they can have it up on their website in a matter of minutes, really.
How is this controlled from an operational standpoint? Because I can see from an access control standpoint of letting people in, but then if there's a finite period of time, I know within trampoline parks, there's a lot of wristbands and and things like that. But for for larger parks, as far as naturally removing guests when the time come up and it's not the end of the day, how's that being done?
Yeah, that's definitely a challenge for those that have never managed it in that way to make sure that they can track the outflow as well. So there's a few ways. You just mentioned a couple, like colored wristbands. So the purple wristband, the staff know that once that time hits, that person has to leave. But it is an operational challenge for sure, and it's harder for some than others, and some, I believe, just potentially won't be able to actually achieve it in a complete way, as in exactly who's in at any one time. However, some of the businesses that we work with use the time ticketing more for staggered entry to just make the flow easier, rather than not necessarily having to achieve all of those people have to leave at this time. It's just a judgment call on, we know that people usually stay for X amount of hours, therefore let's create a staggered kind of flow there. But yeah, it is definitely a challenge with businesses that haven't had to do it before, and large businesses as well that people are everywhere. It's not like it's going to be an operational nightmare to try and run around and spot people with the purple wristband to get them out. That would be very difficult to achieve. So for the larger ones, I think more of a staggered time-based entry is probably, the best that they could achieve, without kind of further innovation in the, wristbands that have lights in them, or something that would just, not allow them to complete certain things within the attraction. Yeah, it's a challenge for sure.
Yeah. And so, Luke, when you're looking at those challenges and you're saying, hey, look, we've got, this process that works at the smaller facility, but we've got, a larger, potentially, outdoor theme park that we're trying to do the same thing. How involved are you and Roller in that? I know you said you're not operators, but how involved do you get in that process, saying, hey, this is what we can do? You kind of addressed this earlier by saying what we can and can't do, but I'm just curious, when you're in that process, how involved do you get by saying, that's just, from your standpoint, we see that's not going to work. Do you know what I'm trying to ask?
Yeah.
Like, it's not from your standpoint, but even from theirs.
Yeah, for sure. Like, we are very involved in that, in terms of deciding or sort of influencing the guest flow. Like our client success team, who are essentially the account managers for all the accounts, do weigh in definitely on how things should be set up from a product standpoint to make sure that it's actually achievable. In saying that, if there is something that a client comes up with which is just awesome, and let's say we can't do it right now from a tech perspective, we often go down that rabbit hole and try and solve it with them if it's something that we also believe that it will actually work. But yeah, definitely, I think our perspective of being a technology provider and not being an operator is very valuable, because it just gives different perspectives on things, which the more perspectives you can get, usually that leads to better decision making.
Because some of the places I'm sure that you're working with are, newer, and they've got the infrastructure to handle that technology. What's it like to go into some place that just doesn't? Like, I mean, there's a lot of older amusement parks and older family entertainment centers that, they had that old POS system that, maybe didn't integrate with anything else. So what's it like to go into a place like that where the infrastructure just isn't there?
Yeah, so for us, with Roller, to run Roller, you only need, a computer that's connected to the internet, or a device that's connected to the internet. So, you don't need a server room or anything like that, because it's all in the cloud. So you can get set up on a Roller with just going to JB Hi-Fi and getting a $600 computer, and just putting it there, connecting to the internet, and then loading Roller up in the browser. That's kind of how it works.
Okay.
So it is, people often have this kind of, perspective or view that you have to then go out and buy all this new hardware, and it's going to be huge upfront cost, where it's not really with Roller and cloud-based systems, because it's just, the devices are pretty cheap. You can get them off the shelf anywhere. It's not like, Roller doesn't sell hardware. We just recommend, hey, get a computer that's usually faster than, slower. But, we've even had theme parks that their internet would go down, right, on a busy day. We've got the technology built into the platform where it will still operate in an offline mode. However, you can just hotspot a computer off your phone. And we had a theme park that had, 10 ticket gates doing serious numbers, just operating off a hotspot off a mobile phone.
Wow.
So it's very lightweight. And to achieve that, like our product team, they're just absolute weapons, but they, put a lot of effort into achieving that kind of lightweight system. We're still being super powerful, but not needing, huge bandwidth in order to actually run the system, which is, impressive. I think it's pretty mind blowing when you actually see it in action. But yeah, when you go into these older attractions, the people that are usually operating it, like the staff, the younger staff, I mean, they're across this stuff. They could just whip out computers in 2 seconds and do it. So, what Roller is, it's a modern interface that it looks and feels like a lot of the other systems that they use outside of work. So yeah, one of the things that we pride ourselves on is the upskilling of people on Roller is super easy. People just pick it up. Like, you put the point of sale. When we do point of sale training, you just put the point of sale in front of them, and they figure it out, which is great for us. And it kind of means that, our UX designers are doing a great job in achieving that. But it's yeah, we try to make it as self-serve and easy to get set up and operate as possible.
Gotcha.
So then, to Matt's earlier point, as far as looking at things from the employee experience, that having the user experience both on the guest side when they're online or reserving or booking their time online or buying their tickets online, and then having the employee be able to have that seamless user experience, that it almost does act as an enhancement not just to the guest experience but also to the employee experience, because they're able to serve the guests even better than if they needed to click a few more times, or if they were working on a slower system, right?
100%. Yeah, all the updates that we do to the point of sale, which are staff facing, the improvements that we make there improve the guest experience. As you said, it just makes the staff be able to serve the guests much easier. We've all been in situations where you're standing there as a guest and the staff member is stuck behind a system, and there's a lot of frustration building, and then you're getting frustrated and people on the line get frustrated. Like, that's all because if you were to look at the screen, it's probably an archaic, cumbersome kind of process that they were trying to achieve. So yeah, it's absolutely critical that those types of things are improved, and the more seamless that you can make it from a staff perspective, that has serious flow-on effects to their ability to service the guests, which means better guest experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I'm curious, Luke, I know we talked a little bit about some of the areas that you didn't pursue, again, the facial recognition, things like that. But what do you see are
we pursued it, Matt. We pursued it. We haven't got there yet.
But what are some of those things that you see as future opportunities that when you maybe you go to the park with your family and you're like, well, that would really improve the experience, and that's something we could work on? Are there things, I'm sure there's things in your head like that might be the future, or might be in the future for you guys?
Yeah, there's a few things, now with, social distancing and people wanting to be as contactless as possible. Some things that we've worked on are, creating QR codes that people can scan on their phone, when they turn up at the venue, at the attraction. Just point their camera at it, and it pulls the whole booking experience straight up on their phone to avoid people waiting in lines where they can just, use the mobile checkout, things like that. And then also, using that type of experience also to be paying for food and beverage and all of that. But it really relies on the mobile experience being awesome. So I think that we're going to see a lot more of that. And, we're definitely, making advances in that space. I think kind of a more macro thing, though, is around the data that is being collected. We think that, there's a lot of data that is sitting within a point of sale system that now, with kind of public APIs into like weather systems and, events, Google, all of this type of stuff, if you can pull that data down and get it into a single place, you can then start to do all sorts of funky things with AI and machine learning that then predict what's going to happen in the future. So, based on what you did last year and the events around the corner on Saturday and the weather's great, what does the next week look like in terms of attendance? Like, obviously we know how many people are booked in, but how busy is it going to be? I think there is going to be a huge opportunity in using data to predict things that will inevitably help the guest experience. For example, if the system is accurate and predicts that, hey, on Monday you're going to be super busy, but usually the operator makes their own judgments, and that's kind of how it works at the moment. But let's say they only put on 3 staff, and then Monday they do get slammed. That flows on to a potentially poor guest experience because there's more people waiting in line, or that type of stuff. Where I think, there's just so much data out there now that I think is yet to be really utilized to improve, the operations of these businesses. And that to me is super exciting. Like, it's a huge challenge, but it's super exciting. And I think, we're going to see more of that. And we're definitely looking forward to bringing some things out in that space.
Cool.
Yeah. The whole optimization, trying to get as close as possible to operating on full cylinders. It's almost like a utopian kind of dream of saying, I'm going to have the exact staff members working at the exact time with this exact amount of guests and
totally
optimize. It's
there was even some ideas that we had around like, yeah, you could do it for staffing, like, hook into the staffing system and say, hey, we're going to be super busy here. And then the system itself could almost just, reach out to the staff and get them to opt in. Like, it doesn't, the more that we can relieve the operators of these kind of more mundane tasks that they do, that's better for them, right? They can spend more time on, developing all the awesome experiences that they deliver. But even things down to like, stock management, like, let's say the system knows that on Monday it's going to be super busy, and the system, due to the inventory tracking, knows that there's, we're running out of lemonade and we're going to get busy here. So therefore it could make its own judgments to say, hey, I'm going to contact, my supplier and order that lemonade in advance. So it's, we don't run out of stock on Monday. All of that stuff could be automated. So, the operator's more just watching things happening and potentially approving things rather than having to do all of these, number crunching things themselves, which I think is awesome. Like it empowers, the operators to focus more on the actual product that they're delivering.
Right.
And not having to worry about all the back of house stuff. So yeah, I expect that there will be significant enhancements in that space, which to me is super exciting.
Right. Yeah. And it allows them to get out of their office doing admin work and in more front of house spaces and working with guests and improving the guest experience and improving the employee experience. So yeah, the more that those decisions are able to be made automated, wow, I feel like we could just start a whole new conversation right now. This could be the beginning of just everything that AI and just
totally
predictive analytics.
Yeah, totally. It's so good. Like, I mean, it gets me so excited. We've been at this for 8 years, and to me, it just feels like day one all the time. I just get pretty giddy about just even thinking about all the things that you can do with technology to help the guest experience. And I think it's endless, really, to be honest. So definitely keeps us busy and keeps us inspired and motivated to keep making progress on that stuff.
Yeah. And certainly the technology won't be what holds us back, but as you're saying that, I can see one person on one hand saying, yeah, that's really empowering. And then another person saying, oh my gosh, it's going to take my job. You know what I mean? Like, and this is how I identified who I am for so long. And there's that human element of I'm afraid of change, or I don't want that to take over. And so that's their leader's responsibility, right? To help coach them through that process so that they understand, hey, this can help you do other things that can really enhance the guest or employee experience. And you don't have to worry about that. You don't have to worry about that inventory. Let the software do that. Yeah.
No, 100%. There is definitely that concern, everywhere in society around, technology taking people's jobs. But exactly what you just said is true in my view. It allows businesses to repurpose staff into things that are more impactful, rather than doing the mundane things. So I think everyone should be viewing those types of things as a positive move forward. I'll take one small example, like self-serve kiosks is a bit of functionality that we launched about a year ago. And I remember the first venue that we were there trialing it and kind of watching how people were interacting with it. And it was great. The guests were just going over, obviously self-serve kiosks are not new, like you do it in airlines and all that type of stuff. But the guests were interacting with it seamlessly, like zero help, which was great. But then when you talk to the staff, some of the staff were like, oh yeah, we love it. But the first thing that came out of their mouths was like, does this mean that we don't have a job? And, I truly believe that, operators then need to think about, hey, if this person is now freed up, what are the extra things that they can do to help improve the guest experience? Like more one-to-one communications, more extra value add services that they can kind of add. And I think that is hugely exciting. And I think, people should be thinking more along those lines rather than just swapping people out for technology. Yeah.
And nowadays it means more time to clean, more time to keep sanitizing. More time,
exactly. Until the cleaning robots come in. Yeah.
Well, there you go. This has been an awesome conversation. We really appreciate you taking the time to share these exciting stories with us and everything of how Roller has grown over the last, like you said, 8 years. If people want to learn more about Roller, or if they want to get a hold of you personally, where would you send them?
Yeah, so our website is roller.software, so you can head there and have a look around at all the different things that we do. If you want to reach out to me personally, just hit me up on LinkedIn. That's probably the best way. Pretty active on that, but yeah, the website is where you can find everything on Roller. Cool.
Any final thoughts or lasting words for our audience as we wrap this up?
Not really. I just thank you guys for the stuff that you guys are doing for the industry. I find it very interesting listening to the podcast and all the awesome people that you have on talking about things. And yeah, I'm very very honored to be part of it. And yeah, appreciate all the things that you guys do.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, it's been an honor, Luke, to have you on and listen to your, like Josh said, listen to your stories and all the great things that Roller is doing. And so I want to thank you again for your time. I want to thank everybody who's listening. And I guess this is the first time we'll do it, but here we go. Remember that how do we do it? We are all attraction.
We are all attracted.
Never done that. Nearly got
it. 1, 2, 3. We are
all attraction pros.
There we go. Let's fix that in editing.
High
five. We break into applause.
Exactly. Yeah.
Thanks for joining us for another great episode of the Attraction Pros podcast.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode, and we'd love to hear your feedback. Feel free to drop us a line on Facebook, Twitter, or LinkedIn, and make sure to follow us on all the social channels.
And make sure you've subscribed to the show so you can get the latest episodes every single week. Also, if you're new to the show, be sure to check out all the great episodes and guests we've featured in the past.
And if you want to learn more about Matt and Josh and check out the best articles for you to operate your attraction most successfully, be sure to visit us at attractionpros.com.